Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Sunday Morning Transplant Coffee Talk. I am your host, Steve Belcher. Well, we have an exciting show this morning. I have on the show Cody Kubiack from Elgin, Texas. And excuse me. Oh my God. This is live. Okay, I'm gonna cut that off. Sorry about that, Cody. Again, I'm sorry, audience. Again, welcome Cody to the show. Before I start, I'd just like to say yesterday we had the hashtag kidney disease urban America silent killer tour at the Greater St. John Baptist School Jam yesterday, and that was a great turnout. A lot of information was distributed, and it was a good community event. So I just wanted to share that with the audience. Cody, uh, let's start with you, man. How's everything where you're at in Texas?
Everything's pretty good. Just a little warm weather, but other than that, everything's fine out here.
Okay. All right. So, Cody, share your story with us. It's an amazing one. We talked
Sure.
off camera, and I thought this was something that our audience should hear about.
Of
So,
course.
let's start with your story.
Okay. So basically, I was born with PUV, which is a blockage basically in your ureters whenever my body was developing. And it pretty much caused a backup, which caused my kidneys to fail. At birth, my kidneys were completely shot. Pretty much completely, didn't have anything else to do except try to get a transplant if I possibly could. If I couldn't, I was going to have to go on dialysis. Of course, they don't want to do that, when you're a baby. They want to try to do as much as they can. So,
So, let me stop you right there. So, before you was born, you had PUV.
right.
So you were still in your mom's womb and you developed that.
Yeah, in utero, I wasn't diagnosed with it until I was born. They, for some reason or another, never really caught it. They always noticed my bladder was full, but couldn't catch why, I guess.
Okay.
Um, So it wasn't really till I was born that they kind of, I guess, figured out something was wrong.
Wow.
And other than that, I was just pretty much had to go through 3 or 4 surgeries after I was born just to relieve that pressure to get make sure my bladder was going to work all right. Got some ostomies. Pretty much just had to go through that kind of stuff the first year of my life until I was big enough for a transplant. Nowadays, they really don't like to do them on babies that young just because of the risks. But I guess in 1990, things were obviously a little bit different. But
Okay.
they pretty much, I was lucky enough to have my mother just say, okay, what do we have to do to get him taken care of? And my mother, just without question said, okay, if I'm a match, let's go ahead and do it. Let's have the transplant.
Okay. At 1 years old.
At 1 years old, 13 months, April of 1990. That's when I had my first transplant.
Okay. So basically, how were you urinating as a child?
So, as a child, I was pretty much, after 1 year old, after the transplant, everything was fine. Previous to that, I had to have ostomy bags on my sides to relieve that.
Okay. Did you
And
know what they
then,
did? Were you aware at that time what was going on? I know that was very young.
yeah, not really. Earliest memories I really have are just going to the doctor all the time and having to take a bunch of, nasty medicine. They had to take basically cyclosporin was what they had everyone on at that time,
Uh huh.
and they just put it basically in a syringe, and I had to take it that way.
Right. 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 Okay. So continue. So at 1 years old, your mom gave you a transplant.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Um, Everything went pretty much fine from there. Multiple years as a child, I just kind of grew up a little bit different. Obviously, I couldn't go play and do a lot of stuff normal kids did just because of contact with my kidney. I couldn't do a lot of the stuff normal kids do, but other than that, I lived a pretty normal life. At no time as a child did I really feel like I was any different. I felt pretty normal, just like any other kid. I didn't feel weak or tired or sick or anything other than that.
Okay. Okay.
And so everything went pretty well most of my childhood. A few ups and downs. With my kidney levels. I had to do a biopsy here or there, but I was fine most of my life until I hit about 24, 25. That's when that kidney started to fail.
Wow. Did they give you any reason why?
No,
And they
they
since it was coming
didn't.
from your mom?
Right. They just pretty much said it was good to last 25 years. Normally, they said, a lot of transplanted kidneys can only last, possibly 10 to 15. But it really varies. You never know. Someone's kidney can, you can have a transplant and it lasts 2, 3, 4 years. It could last 50. Nobody's really ever certain. But they just commended me for keeping it good, for 25 good years.
Were you taking a lot of transplant medication as a child?
Yes, I did. I've been on steadily about 8 medications since I was born. And that's probably the biggest thing that I guess differs me from most people is a lot of people, even children get transplants, but I've had a transplant since I was literally 1 year old.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And those transplant medications have slowly actually started to, kind of affect my body more now in my 20s because I've been on them for so long.
How so?
So they pretty much, the prednisone is the worst one. I talk to chat groups all the time about kidney transplant people, and they say, that's the one thing they hate the most is prednisone. What can we do to get off of prednisone? That stuff's made my bones brittle. It's made my bone density terrible. Um, stuff like appetite, metabolism, all that stuff gets affected over time with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they were pretty much all right. The biggest thing that's probably bothered me the most was just the prednisone affecting my bones. And then I'll get into it more later, I assume. But whenever I had my second transplant, I took CellCept, is what they switched me to.
Okay.
And that actually, in part, gave me lymphoma, a form of cancer.
Wow.
So,
So let me take a second here to
sure.
digest that. So one medicine you was taking to
Mm-hmm.
help with your kidney rejection
Mm-hmm.
caused you to get a form of cancer called lymphoma.
Right. That combined, it was also part of because I had the Epstein-Barr virus with this second transplant. And it had to
Okay.
do with that. The EB virus combined with the CellCept levels, something about that. They're not really 100% sure what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much, I want to say it was 3 months after my second transplant, right when I started getting going good again, I started getting sick and didn't understand, why I was feeling sick. It was like allergies, something you get all the time, but it would never go away. So they had to eventually do a throat biopsy to see what, was potentially making this happen. And it
Okay.
turned out to be lymphoma. And of course, that
Okay.
was treated really easily. I just had to, I guess easy to me with some of the stuff I've been through, but 4 months of chemotherapy, and it was pretty much been in remission ever since then.
Great. That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Are you still taking any medication for that?
No, it was just heavy doses of one type of chemotherapy. Apparently, this affects a lot of kidney folks. Sometimes with that transplant medication, they call it PTLD. and it's post-transplant, something medical,
Right.
disorder. But that's happened before, that medication, which can sometimes, I guess, give you that kind of stuff, which, it's terrible. It's kind of like a never-ending war. The very thing that's helping you live, the very thing that's helping your kidney, can also hurt your body in other ways,
Wow. Wow. Okay. So your first transplant started to reject about at 24, 25 years of age. And
Yes,
as I
sir.
remember, you had mentioned that your function test was down to about 7%,
Mm-hmm.
and go from there. So
Right.
you're almost about to. Well, go ahead. You explain it.
Sure. So, just to go back a tiny bit, so whenever my kidney first started, the second one started, my first kidney started rejecting when I was 25, my mother's kidney. And I pretty much lived for about a year. They just said, we have to wait for your kidney function to get to a certain point to put you on the list for dialysis.
Okay.
And I was pretty much depressed, didn't know what to do with myself, why is that happening to me? And I was lucky enough to have some friends come into my life. My friend Erica helped set up a page. It's called Cody's Warriors, which I'd love to share with people. It's pretty much a whole chronicalization of my journey. And through that's how I was finding donors. I was spreading the word, hey, Cody needs a kidney. Here's a hashtag 2K2C, just spread the word as many ways possible. And I pretty much got a few family members tested, a few people were tested, and all sorts of stuff kept popping up. Basically, one of my uncles was tested, but of course they said, well, you can't drink, you can't do this, just all sorts of different things. They don't let hardly anyone become a donor unless you're very, very top tier physical health.
Okay.
And so I have multiple people getting tested. Those people just, ended up getting eliminated from small little factors. And I was lucky enough to where my aunt was getting tested and she was a match. And by that point, it had been August of 2015, and I was going to meetings basically to have a fistula put in, trying to decide what form of dialysis I was going to have to choose.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to go down maybe the peritoneal dialysis route just because it was maybe a better lifestyle thing for someone younger like myself. But yeah, my kidney function had gotten down to 7% right before the transplant.
Wow. Wow.
And I was 1 week away from having surgery to have my fistula placed in, to have my ports put in, and everything set for dialysis. And
Wow.
just,
Very
yeah,
lucky.
luckily, by the grace of God, I consider that divine intervention. Just a week before I had to literally go in for the surgery, they said, nope, come over here to San Antonio. You have a match. Let's get you set up. Let's get this done.
Wow. So, Cody, just share with us, um, mentally, what was your hopes getting grim,
Mhm.
when you was going through the testing for the second transplant, and with the rejection
Mhm.
happening and the fistula being set up, knowing that it was a possibility that this was going to happen, dialysis. I mean, how was you
Mhm.
feeling at that time mentally?
Mentally, it was very hard. It was very hard. I've struggled with depression my whole life, and this stuff was really, really getting to me. I figured I've been through so much of this stuff. Why has this happened to me? Why can I not just, get things taken care of? Why is it so hard? Why is there so many criteria just to, get me a donor? And mentally, I was in a very, very low place. I had, a few of my friends and most of my family just there by my side to help pick me up and get me through this.
Okay.
And without my support group, I was nothing. It's that support group that got me through that. That's why I recommend anyone going through this, get you a good support group, because that is what carried me through that. Surprisingly enough, though, by that August, I had kind of accepted what was going on with me. And I figured, millions of people are on dialysis and they live, inspirational lives, stories like I've seen on this show, even.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, so many people can make still a good life, even on dialysis. I'll be okay. Whatever will happen, I'll be okay. It's in God's hands, it'll get taken care of. And I actually kind of got to a peaceful spot there near the end. I was just like, whatever happens, will happen.
Wow. Wow. And so you finally made peace with that. And then
Mm-hmm.
what happened the day you received that call?
The day I received that call, it was just, I still say it's surreal. It's hard to believe because I don't know. It's unreal, just the emotion, the amount of weight, because it's life at stake. It's not something you deal with normally. Normally you don't deal with life and death like that.
Okay.
And it was just incredible to get that phone call because I had pretty much been told 3 times, hey, this person looked good, but it just wasn't going to work. Or, they have a kidney stone or this or that, and it's just not going to happen.
Mm.
So I'd kind of come at peace, like you said. I was just like, whatever will happen, will happen. And I got that phone call, and my aunt was on the other line, other end of that line. And she said, "Are you ready to have surgery?" And I just pretty much broke down right then and there, and everything was just overwhelming. Like I felt like there it is. There's my second chance. I finally, can get through this. Hopefully, I'll, have my second chance with this new kidney, and if I come out of it alive, I'm going to share my story and try to inspire and help people. I feel like that was my purpose, with that.
Okay. Okay. Are you still taking the same anti-rejection medicine that you took once before?
Yeah, the only thing they switched around was I was on Imiran growing up, which was
Okay.
also like cyclosporin. And for some reason or another, I guess it has to do with the hospital you go to. They choose different medicines for you. I guess the different nephrologists have different opinions. So that's when they started putting me on cell sets, which I had never been on before until after this transplant.
Okay. Okay. And what medication caused the lymphoma?
It was that cell set. It was that stuff right there.
So they put you back on the same medicine that caused you
Yep.
lymphoma.
Yeah. They basically just reduced the dosage while I was going through the chemotherapy and got me back on it. And I think they explained it to me as a kind of deal as once you go through PTLD, once it's treated, once you're kind of in remission, it's a very, very low chance that that would come back. And so I guess they felt confident enough to say, hey, it's in remission and he needs this, for his kidney, so put him back on it.
Wow. Wow. Do you have any concerns of that lymphoma reoccurring because of that?
Yeah, a little bit. It never leaves your mind,
Okay.
It's like a lot of people think, you don't cure cancer, you treat it, you get it in remission and it kind of lays dormant, it can always come back. But my whole attitude with it is well, if it does come back, I can kick its ass again. I've kicked its ass once before.
Absolutely. 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 So wow. So how's the kidney doing now?
It's doing fantastic. I'm extremely happy to report. I saw my nephrologist just this last Thursday, and my creatinine's at 1.3, which that's my baseline. That's around where I go. So the function's doing great. since I'm 3 years now. On September 16th will be 3 years. So I'm about to have my kidney anniversary, as I like to call it, my kidney anniversary.
Okay.
And they pretty much said, yeah, since it's been 3 years, you're pretty good to go. I went from having to get labs twice a week to once every week to every other week. And now they said I only have to get labs every 4 months.
Wow. So how's your aunt doing who donated the kidney?
She's doing fine. That's the thing I'd also like to share with people because my mother and my aunt both are two people who've been donors and they've never had a single issue with their kidney. Of course, my aunt, it's only been 3 years, but my mother, it's been, 28 years, and her kidney functions fine. Her creatinine's fine. Everything, they still live a life and have fun. And, both of them, they pretty much are almost unaffected by it, other than having a good sense of feeling that they saved my life.
Let me ask you, is your mom and your aunt, are they on special diets because of the transplant?
Um, I'm not sure. Probably, I'm not really sure.
Okay. Okay.
Um, they really don't do anything any different. From what I understand, they are just like any normal person. I don't believe their diets changed or anything. Even my own, all I try to do is stay low sodium a little bit, but other than that, everything's still great.
Does your aunt have to go to follow-up appointments?
I don't think so anymore at this point. I think for the first 2 years, they had her go in like once a year for an annual checkup just to check everything. And I
Okay.
think after one or two of those, they said, yeah, you're completely fine. You're good to go.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to your aunt the night before or right before
Hmm.
both of y'all went into surgery?
Yeah, so we all basically went, in a group. We're all from the Austin area. So we all traveled together to San Antonio. And
Okay.
we all stayed in the same hotel. And of course, we all talked about it, prayed over it, and, of course, I just told her, over and over, just thank you for saving my life. So there's no words to really thank someone for something like that, you know. And she just said, it's no problem, of course I would do it for you if I could, and she of course could. So she was happy to do it.
Wow. Very, very blessed, Cody, because a lot of people, of course, don't fall into that category. And
Right.
um, so I think God did, put you in a position so you can share your story and
Hmm.
promote transplant to show that you had two relatives, your mom and your aunt, that
Hmm.
donated to you. And I mean, you're a living testimony to that.
Right. And that's the big thing I'm trying to do. You know, to kind of go into that, before most of my life, especially my teen years when I struggled with depression, I felt like I didn't know my purpose. Why am I here? I can't do what normal people do. I can't live a normal life like normal people do. What am I saved for? Why was I saved instead of some other person? When I was born even. And it wasn't till this whole journey with the second transplant, my friends encouraging me, that I pretty much realized I can use this second opportunity to actually help people, to influence, possible change in this kidney community. Just pretty much the reason I'm here, I feel like now is just to share my story. I'd love to speak and tell people about this, as much as I can to tell them not to lose hope. Never give up. It can get hard. You can get depressed. You can fall into this stuff. It's a lot, it's a lot having to deal with kidney failure. And
Right.
just what I'm trying to do right now is write a book. I'm trying to write, a book kind of like a memoir kind of deal, just like this, in more detail of exactly what my whole life's experience was. And I'm hoping just maybe my story will reach someone else who's struggling with similar stuff like me. And they say, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep fighting because look at him. Look at how well he's still doing.
Absolutely.
There's hope at the end of that tunnel. It can be a very dark, terrible tunnel, but you will get at the end of it.
We had a question for you. Tamika, my partner, wanted to know,
Mm-hmm.
do you encourage people to become living donors?
Oh, of course. That's probably the biggest other part of it. It's not even about me. It's about spreading awareness for donors because I feel like there's not enough awareness for a lot of people don't understand, I feel, just how, I don't want to say easy because it's not easy, but it's not going to hurt you the way a lot of people think to donate. My mother and my aunt, they're live donors and they live a normal life. They don't have kidney problems. They don't have a shortened lifespan. They can drink occasionally. They can go have fun. They can live a normal life.
Right.
You're not going to live, a worse off life for donating to someone. You'd be saving a life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if I can share, just more people to get out there and spread awareness for donation, because that's everything. There's like 4,000, 5,000 people who die almost in a year just waiting on the transplant list. I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, I believe it's, let me correct you. I got the numbers. Let me
Yeah.
see. According to the National Kidney
Mm-hmm.
Foundation, every day 12 people die waiting for a kidney.
Right. It's probably even worse than what I, think of it as. It,
Yeah.
it's getting insane just how many people are affected by this. And maybe that just leads into my next point is there's not awareness for kidney disease like there is for other ailments. Not to lessen other ailments, not to say they're not worth, the amount of coverage they get, but look at how many thousands and thousands of people are affected by kidney failure, kidney disease. And I feel like no one really pays attention to it or thinks about it unless they or a loved one experiences it.
No, Cody, you're absolutely right. And I don't think you're diminishing the other diseases
Mm-hmm.
because just the other day I saw a commercial on television about fibromyalgia. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
diminishing that disease, but fibromyalgia is not the ninth leading cause of death in the United States. Kidney disease
Exactly.
is. And
Right.
you don't get enough awareness, prevention, or education in the mainstream pertaining to kidney disease, regardless of however you obtain the disease.
Right. And that's, and I'm wondering what would be the best way to reach people. Is it like this through Facebook? Is it radio or television? I mean, hopefully all three. But I don't, I don't understand really why something that affects so many people is not discussed more. Why is there not a commercial telling people donate life? Well, why does that stuff not exist? I really don't understand.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's a money thing.
That's what I believe too.
I
I
mean,
agree.
because if you try to get people well, then you
You
won't
can't
have
treat them.
nothing to treat.
Right.
And it's just like with diabetes and high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
If these are preventable diseases and you
Yeah.
can prevent that from happening, why not market more on the education piece of it to prevent that from occurring? But
Right.
you have healthcare practitioners who want to keep treating the symptoms and not treat the root cause of that symptom. So yeah, I truly believe it's financial driven.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I feel
definitely
like
believe that education and promotion and prevention is the true key to it.
right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of medical ailments, that whole industry, that's a big part of it is, well, it's, I like, I hate to say it, but I feel like that's the same thing with cancer. I feel like, if they really wanted to get to the root of it and eliminate it in a lot of cases, they probably could, but you make a killing off of selling the treatment. And,
Right.
it's sad, but the thing with kidney disease awareness is just, I don't think enough people are just aware of it. I don't think people understand just how, you know, how you could donate a kidney and save someone's life and you could still live a normal life.
Right, right. So Cody, explain to the people watching
Mm-hmm.
how important that a support group is.
So for me personally, at least, a support group was everything. I recommend everyone have a support group. Like I said, my friend Erica, she helped create this whole Facebook group just for me to put, my name out there, my story out there, trying to get people to donate. Uh, you can get depressed. You can get in some very low places, some very hard spots dealing with all this stuff. It's painful. It's draining. Uh, your friends and your family are everything in this kind of situation. You need someone to lean on. Everyone, you're not weak for needing help. Everyone needs help, and especially going through this stuff. If you can surround yourself with a group, and especially a group like mine that could not only give you words of encouragement and help you fight that fight, but put the word out for you to find a donor or to get support.
Right. What's the name of your group, Cody?
It's called Cody's Warriors.
Okay. Okay, and that's on Facebook?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I'll pretty much try to share that any way I can afterwards. Um, that was pretty much chronicles, it chronicles my whole journey. From the beginning of me needing a kidney all the way till now.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I relied on that support group for the last, for those first 3 years. It didn't just end with my kidney transplant. 3 months after I felt better from my kidney transplant, then I had lymphoma cancer. Then I treated that. Well, then not too long after that, I guess because of the prednisone, my bones were so wore out, I had to have a hip replacement the following year.
What year was that you had the hip replacement?
That was 2016 or 17. I'm sorry,
Okay.
just last year.
How you doing with that now?
Completely fine. You
Okay.
would almost never know.
Wow, great, man. That's happy to hear.
And I recovered from that in about 3 months. Insanely fast. Got over that, but that's another reason I needed a support group. It was one thing after another. First, I beat kidney, failure and got a new transplant. And then before you know it, then you get cancer, and then you get, hip, and it's one thing after another. It snowballs, and it can really get to you. You start to wonder, how much more do you have to endure? And my support group has gotten me through that every single time.
Wow. Wow. Have you had an opportunity to do any speaking engagements in the community where you're at?
Now where I'm at, I live in a very small town outside of Austin, but I know Austin would have opportunities like that. Uh,
Okay.
I would love to go to that. I would like to start doing that, finding the means to do some public speaking. That would be great. That would be a dream for me.
One place you could start is the National Kidney Foundations or the
Mm-hmm.
AA, I think KP,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, as a ambassador. But
All
I
right.
mean, you definitely have a story to share, and definitely a purpose, man, because again, you receiving 2 transplants from a living relative speaks volumes.
Right. And that's another thing too is I was lucky enough, to have family that was willing to do that for me. Not everyone has those resources. And that's another reason I want to spread awareness is, I was lucky. I was blessed and lucky. I had donors and people who stood up for me. I think we need to get the word out more and get more support for this stuff because there's all sorts of people who don't have people who would necessarily just stand up and donate a kidney to them.
Right. And let me ask you, to those people, what would you suggest or advise, or what words of encouragement
I would
would you?
pretty much just say don't ever give up. Don't give up hope. I believe the average waiting time is like 8 years on the list, if I'm not mistaken. It's a long process. When I was down to my lowest kidney failure, I couldn't even stay awake a whole day. It's hard. It's very hard to deal with that stuff. Um, my only words of encouragement are just stick through it, fight it. Even if you're not necessarily a religious person, pray. What can it hurt, right? Do what you can do to just take everything one day at a time. All you got to do is make it another day, and you never know that one day could be the day you get that phone call that saves your life.
Hmm. Is there a dialysis facility in your town?
My small community, I'm not really sure if there is or not. I would have to probably go to some outside, little place like Bastrop or Austin or something like that. My town's pretty small. There's only a couple thousand people in the whole city, so I would
Okay.
have, if I would have to go to a dialysis center, yeah, I would have had to probably drive almost 30 miles for every treatment.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Mm.
When your first kidney started to reject, and when you were getting down to the low numbers, and you mentioned you got pretty close to 7%, for people who may have kidney disease, um, did you experience any symptoms
Oh
when
yeah.
when your kidney rate was declining?
Oh
And
yeah.
if you were experiencing any signs and symptoms, can you explain what they were and how you
Sure.
managed?
Yeah, sure. So, uh, pretty much, I'd say almost even before a year before the transplant, I want to say once I got below 25 or 20% functionality, I started getting morning sickness really bad. I lost over 50 pounds. I was, very sick every morning without fail. I had to get
When you
up
say
and,
sick, you mean nausea and vomiting?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Every single morning I had to basically go run to the bathroom to go throw up. It was just terrible. And I was losing weight. I was losing appetite. I mean, I wasn't even starting to look the same anymore.
Okay.
And the other thing that really started to get to me was maybe a year or so before when I started getting to about 20%, I started having to get epogen shots. Um,
Uh, can you explain to people watching what's epogen shots and what this used for?
so, right, so an epogen shot is basically it's extra hemoglobin type. It's a chemical to keep kind of get your blood levels back up, your energy back up. I had to go once a week for those. They just basically your hemoglobin gets so low that you have no energy.
Right.
Your body just starts to kind of frankly shut down. Very slowly.
Well, let me just say this. Just from a clinical standpoint,
Mm,
basically what's happening is your kidneys, excrete a hormone called erythropoietin.
Okay.
And what that does, that hormone signals the bone marrow to produce more red blood cells. So when your kidney function starts to decline,
Mm.
then you start getting chronic kidney disease anemia because that hormone, not enough is being released to stimulate the bone marrow, so it's not producing more red blood cells, and that's how
Right.
your blood
Mm.
hemoglobin is dropping, and those shots basically replace that hormone to stimulate your bone marrow.
Okay. Yeah, see, the
Yeah,
doctors never even explained that to me, really.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
I was having to get those every single week, and even with those shots, even with that, I couldn't make it a full day without taking at least one nap. I had, so low energy, I had to, take a nap every afternoon.
So, did you have this swelling in the ankles?
Maybe a tiny bit. I really didn't have much, fluid retention or anything like that very much.
You had
My
the urine decrease urination?
Maybe a little bit. Mine was pretty much just I had a whole bunch of protein. It was real, foamy and all that stuff. It was noticeably different. But other than that, everything was pretty much, the same with that. What was just the killer thing for me was the nausea, the vomiting, the low energy, the tiredness, low appetite, you know.
Did you experience the metallic taste in your mouth?
Maybe a tiny bit here and there, but that never really got to me either. I read about it, I heard about it, but I didn't really experience that all that much. I did a little bit though.
How about the itching?
I had some of that. It wasn't, all that severe, but I had a couple of those little symptoms.
Okay, okay. But mainly, you was able to still manage your day-to-day affairs and your
Hmm.
activities of daily living, even
Yeah,
at that decrease in kidney function.
yeah, for the most part. I want to say when I got to 15 or below, I had to kind of have my parents take care of most of my things just because I just did not have the energy to do much.
Let me ask you, Cody, did you ever during that time, did you ever thought that you may die from that?
Oh yeah, that crosses your mind. You never, to me, not think about that. Uh, I kind of had the thought process of, well, if I don't have a transplant, then I'm gonna have to go on dialysis, and my body was already kind of weakened from a lot of these medications I've taken my whole life. And of course, the thought runs through your head, well, how long's my body gonna last on dialysis even?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I thought, this could be that. And again, it's really weird. I almost call it like a divine thing, but I was really at peace with that at that time. I actually remember telling myself, yeah, I'm only 25, but I've lived a great life. I've had a lot of great friends. My parents gave me a great, life. I did stuff, enjoyed things. If this is the end of it, then that's the end of it. I enjoyed the life I've had. So whatever happens will happen. It's in God's hands.
Wow, wow. Um, did your I know you said you was a week out from getting a fistula surgery.
Mhm.
So at that point, were you and your doctor discussing clinics to go to?
Yeah. I already had a clinic that I was gonna go to. I had already gone to the clinic, taken a tour of it, met a bunch of other patients, met the doctors, the nurses, and they pretty much explained, here's what you're going to have done to you. Here's what to expect. Here's the changes you're going to have to make to your lifestyle. Um, like I said, I was all in for it, and I was a week out from having the surgery.
So when you went in for to meet them and take that tour, was that pretty overwhelming for you?
It was scary. It was very nerve-wracking and kind of scary just because I've always known that that stuff existed whenever you couldn't get a transplant. And I was new to that, even though I've lived my whole life as, a kidney warrior, I've never really seen that life up close. And seeing that life up close, I I'm kind of thankful in a way because now I have such a greater appreciation for what these people go through. I never realized just how intensive it was having to dialyze every single, every other day basically.
Wow.
And it was very scary. It was a little overwhelming, but again, I had my support group, I had my parents, and I just figured, well, I've I've done this. What is this going to do? I'll beat it just like I beat everything else.
Hmm. Um, is your support group, is it just online or do you have one? I know you said you have a small town. Do
Yeah,
you have one outside of online or is it just online?
it's just online, really. I mean, I meet and know probably 90% of the people in my group. So I'll usually at least have one gathering each year, usually on the anniversary of the transplant with all these people just for us to celebrate, hey, here's another year. But I haven't really found very many support groups outside of online. I'd like to. I know Austin's a great city with probably lots of that. The thing that's hard for me is just dealing with the traffic, in all honesty. Austin's like so overgrown. I wish there was something more local.
Right. I can understand that. I can understand that.
It's
Because,
just, it takes a lot of time out of my day just trying to get into town to go meet, and do all that stuff.
right. Right. Yeah, man, because you again, you have a powerful story that I'm sure other people that are on social media, maybe dealing with kidney disease, in a certain stage, or may have a loved one or a child that could be dealing with disease because kidney disease can affect anyone. And as
Yeah.
you living testimony, you obtained it while you was inside your mom's womb
Right.
from PUV. So that shows that anybody can get this. And
Hmm.
again, awareness and prevention is definitely a key.
Yeah.
Uh, Cody, how important is your faith been to you during this time?
It's been very important. It's kind of strange because I was raised, somewhat, religious, not hardcore religious or nothing, but we went to church, we did things. And I even went to a private school all the way through fifth grade and, was part of that. And kind of through my teenage years, I kind of lost a lot of that faith, nothing was going on in my life. It wasn't an important thing to me. And not until I was, kind of not that dramatic, but, not until I was looking death in the face, looking at kidney failure in the face, this kind of scary stuff did I, full on go back into my faith. And it's pretty much gotten me through a lot of this stuff. To me, it's very important.
Right. Okay. Cody, I was just thinking, so you have four kidneys inside of you.
Yes. The two that I was born with, that's what's freaky enough when I get ultrasounds or something sometimes. The two that I had from birth, they pretty much just kind of shriveled up and receded, in my body cavity still, but they're still there.
Okay.
And, my mother's kidney, they left that in there, even though it was failing. I pretty much heard, they don't remove them unless they present, a threat or a problem.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a little weird thing to tell some people sometimes is, yeah, I got 4 kidneys inside of me.
Wow. Wow. So, have you experienced any type of infection?
No, no deals with any of that at all. The worst things I've ever had were just maybe spikes with my levels and stuff. They do a biopsy, check it out, say, yeah, you're still fine, and send me on my way home. I never really had to deal with infections.
That's great. That's
Just
great.
lucky.
I think that I don't think it's luck. I think, or I know and believe that God has a purpose for you.
Well,
Um, to
thank you for
share the
that.
story, man. And you, can you what's the future for you? I know you mentioned the book. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, so other than that, I'm just taking my time trying to write a book. If at all possible, I would like to just give this thing out for free and have it in doctor's offices or something. Someone who, the reason I think back on that is because that's my strong suit is writing. And when my parents, when I was born, when I was going through all this, there's no manual for how to deal with this. There's no book that tells you, here's what you do in this situation, here's how you deal with things. And I feel like so many people deal with kidney failure and all these kidney problems. My story can at least tell people, hey, you can come out at the end of this okay. You can live a pretty awesome life. Thanks, no matter how much stuff you face, you can come out of this. Other than that book, I would like to do some public speaking. Um, my big thing is uh, I like Star Wars a whole lot, and there's actually this group that dresses up in costumes and visits children's hospitals.
Okay.
And I like to do something like that, just some kind of outreach to give back to that community that pretty much got me through everything. Any kind of public speaking stuff I'd like to do. Uh, I'm pretty much, I'm on disability. I can't do a lot of work. I can't do a lot of, serious physical labor stuff because of being on prednisone for 28 years.
Right. Right. Right.
I don't ever want to look at myself as disabled. I don't feel all that disabled in the only thing that makes me feel disabled is my arthritis and my bone pain and stuff like that. But even a vocational expert said, there's no way you could work with the amount of doctor appointments you have. I have probably at least 2 to 3 appointments a month with
Okay.
some specialist, you know. So my goal for the future is just to stay strong, keep this kidney going, make it an even more inspirational story. Be able to say one day I made this kidney last 30, 40 years, who knows? And that's all I really would like to do in the future is just help out folks who are struggling with this very stuff.
Okay. Now, how can if someone watching wanted to reach out to you, how can they reach you?
Uh, Probably the best way to reach me would be to go through my Facebook. You can send me a message or add me. I would add anybody who wants, any questions. Or on my Cody's Warriors page, you could always reach that. I'll try to do what I can to make that more public.
Right.
Um, but if anyone wanted to reach me, it's through any of those. Those two outlets are probably the more direct way to get to me. I have an email as well, which is just my name, Cody Kubiack at Yahoo. Run together, pretty easy to remember.
Right, man. You said Cody Kubiak.
Yes, sir. Just CodyKubiak at yahoo.com.
Got that on that.
Awesome. And anyone ever has a question, comment, concern, opportunity, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help any way I can. this is my first interview. This is my first way of getting out to anybody. I've been wanting to find a good outlet to do this for a long time. So I've been very, excited to get to start this, share this way, and hopefully make it better from there, become a better speaker.
No, absolutely. Hey, Cody, my partner says your story has value. It really does. And I pray that this platform this morning will give
Hmm.
you more inspiration to continue to do God's work
Right.
and, you know, wherever it may be. But it definitely has value in the kidney community.
Hmm.
And once you carve out your value in this community and how much value it has, man. Um, Definitely, because you said you like to write. It can go from a
Hmm.
blog to
Right.
anything, man.
Yeah.
Just even a support group, blog support group to help other individuals who are dealing with this at a younger age.
Right. And then that's the other thing I want to reach out to is I feel like I got a very unique perspective because I went through this my whole childhood. Uh, you know, Other kids who are dealing with this stuff, kids who are dealing with kidney failure, they can't be kids, really. You can't do things over the risk of infection. You can't. I wanted to play football. I was good at football. I always wanted to be a football player, and I just could not do it because of my kidney.
Wow.
And
Wow.
if I could reach out, and get to these kids, even, other kids, and say, hey, I lived that life, of having these problems. You'll get through this. Look at me. Look at what I've become. Don't ever give up.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, Cody, we're down to the wire, man.
All
I'd
right.
like to definitely thank you for coming on
Thank
and
you.
sharing your story. Again, it definitely has value, and I definitely look forward to even talking with you, off camera if you have any
Of course.
questions or need any help or guidance with trying to do anything. We definitely here to help and support you in getting the message of kidney disease out there, man.
Well,
Definitely.
thank you very much for having me and giving me this opportunity. Any chance I have to speak out and share even in more detail, I could go on for 5 hours about all this stuff.
Right, right. Any
So,
body you want to give a shout out to?
just pretty much shout out to my parents, my friend Erica, all my friends who've pretty much gotten me through all these hard times. My whole support group, all of Cody's Warriors, all those people, just thank you for being there for me. Thank you for giving me the courage to do this. And I hope I help some lives doing this stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, then, Cody, I'll be talking with you soon. Everyone, thanks for watching Sunday Morning Transplant Coffee Talk. I'm Steve Belcher. I thank Cody Kubiack for coming on board. And next week, we're going to have a special guest. I'm not going to say who, but this guest is a very phenomenal woman, and I look forward to interviewing her next week. Cody, take care, buddy. God bless
Take
you, and I'll be
care.
talking with you soon.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good one.
All right, take care.
You too.